Yep.
I'm taking a second. I'm going to go also go in and Trevor's computer because this one seems to be not lagging.
Okay, and I've got this space cleared off for you. Hi, Susie.
Hi there.
Hi, Susie.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me okay and see me okay? I'm using an old computer. That's why,
Yeah, I can.
so, okay.
The kind with candle power.
Well, yeah, not one step above. My hinge broke on my computer, so
Oh, my.
it's that left click. If you need a place to go, left click is great.
Good.
They do it with humor, which I find important sometimes.
Right. We could all use a little more of that.
You know, and just as a backup, I borrowed my nephew's computer, so I'm going to be in there twice. Always choose open link.
You want to light?
Nope, I'm perfectly fine.
Oh, boy.
I can hear you. That's great. I feel encouraged.
Okay, I think we have everybody in.
Going to go ahead and call the meeting of the Shutesbury Select Board to order. Today is April 11th, 2023. This meeting is being held via Zoom. So as usual, I'll go through the agenda and then we'll get underway. So the first item on the agenda is for public comments. We had posted that we were going to be reviewing minutes, but we didn't get them in advance in time to review in advance of the meeting. So we won't be doing the minutes of March 21st to March 28th tonight. Then we'll be talking about beaver trapping update, and I believe Kat Hilton from the who's here from the Board of Health will be joining us for that. Then we have a memorandum of understanding from Mass Save for the new library building project. Eric has drafted an annual report, which will make Geneva happy. And we'll just be going through that this evening. Then discussing the Locks Pond culvert schedule, which
Recording in progress.
Sorry.
Susie, did you have something? Your hand's up.
For later, for public comment, sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. And after the that, we'll be talking about moving the clothing box, which is currently situated over by lot 032. Then going through a schedule of projects, kind of what's coming up, what's on the horizon, annual town meeting. And then we have some registrars to appoint. And then a PFAS update and an update on Shutesbury's eligibility for the Clean Water Trust loan program, and then town administrator updates. So our goal is to wrap up by 6:30, giving everybody time to grab something to eat before they go off to the library presentation at 7 o'clock the elementary school. So why don't we get underway? So the first item is public comment, and I see two hands. So Susie, you are quick to the draw, and then Elizabeth, I'll take you after. Okay, go ahead, Susie.
I feel this is an incredibly busy time in town, and I want to recognize the small town volunteers and town officials. And I want to say that we need more "how can I help" instead of sentences that begin with "why don't you?" And there's a remarkable amount of work that's been done and is getting done. And I want to thank the people that are doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Susan.
you.
Elizabeth?
Okay, let me make sure. Okay. I have a question. I don't need a complete answer, but I do wonder if the Gregor McGregor opinion said update according to Attorney Goodman. I'm wondering if the select board can please speak to what could happen collaborating with the Conservation Commission, giving them back the promised 6 legal hours and working with them to update the bylaw that was voted in by citizens and okayed by the Massachusetts Attorney General, because I'm concerned about protecting the environment, especially buffer zones, wetlands, and vernal pools. And could we use the Massachusetts Conservation Commission template? And the process, my understanding, and I could be wrong, is the process will take more time than actually is available before this town meeting. So is it a special town meeting, next year's town meeting? That's my question.
So just a reminder, Elizabeth, we don't, during public comment period, we don't answer questions. We recognize sort of the issue that you've raised. It's not on tonight's agenda, but certainly we could put it on a future meeting. And I'd be willing to have a conversation with you.
That would be great. My last comment there is that the Conservation Commission meets on Thursday. Thank you for taking my question.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, we are going to move quickly along here to talk about beavers, and Kat Hilton has joined us, and I know there's been a lot of discussion around beavers, and apparently there's a lot of discussion at the state level too, because seems like the beaver population has exploded in Massachusetts. So we thought it would be good to just kind of go through what the law states and the jurisdiction of the Board of Health. If somebody can briefly talk about when the Conservation Commission gets involved, that would be great. So maybe Kat, do you want to start and tell us everything you know about beavers?
Well, no, but I'll tell you this much. Since about 20 years ago, the legislature made the Board of Health the authority on trapping beavers, in the sense that if beavers are going to be trapped out of the legal trapping season, which is basically in the winter, they have to get, one has to get a permit from the Board of Health. That trapping season, at least for this year, and it sometimes changes, was November 1st and it ends April 15th. So in this particular instance, the Board of Health did not have any jurisdiction. As far as taking down a beaver dam, I believe we always have to have a permit from the Board of Health as well as from the Conservation Commission to do that.
My understanding, and maybe Becky, you can fill me in because this is something I'm not super familiar with, but the beavers in Shutesbury, the issues have been around flooding on private property as well as interference with roads. Is that correct? So that the
It's when beaver and infrastructure meets that we have problems. And Kat had, we had a discussion earlier this week, and she had a beautiful way of putting it. About 50 years ago or 100 years ago, the beavers were more plentiful, but the man-made roads and infrastructure was less.
Right,
Go
can I interrupt you there, Becky, and remind everybody that beavers were very plentiful in New England in colonial times. They were reduced virtually to extinction along about the 18th century. They were reintroduced throughout New England, just about, as Becky said, just about 50 years ago. This reintroduction has been strikingly successful. You can now not spit anywhere in Massachusetts without hitting a beaver or one of its works. The last time we had beavers of populations of this size, human infrastructure was much, much smaller.
Yeah.
Right now we have all these beavers and they have their own infrastructure, and it is starting to impinge on ours. That said, I just want to remind everybody that there are a lot of beavers, and most of them are not bothering anybody, and nobody is bothering them, right? Once or twice a year, we have a problem where beavers are seriously affecting the infrastructure, threatening people's houses and septic systems, threatening to collapse roads and bridges. And then those we have to deal with. If we think about this a little bit more from the perspective of, say, a wildlife biologist, rather than from a tender-hearted perspective, we can see that the beaver population is extremely robust, right? And that's what we need to be concerned about, that the beaver population is maintained. We cannot spare the life of every single beaver.
okay. Thank you. So Kat, I just want to make sure I'm clear. So if November 1st through April 15th, trapping can happen without permission of the Board of Health, but
That is correct.
during the rest of that time. And can you just explain who does the trapping and what is it? Are there licensed wildlife?
There are
people?
licensed trappers, and I believe they are the only people who can do trapping. You can't just go out and trap a beaver yourself. You have to get a licensed trapper to do it. The trapper that generally works for us, usually Mike Callahan, is just about the best in the business. They generally, these are wildlife specialists. They don't just go out and trap. They also can install various kinds of water flow control devices, and they can give advice and counsel about how to deal with a problem, either by trapping or by doing something else. Obviously, trapping is the last resort and the least desirable.
Yeah.
Not only from the humane standpoint, but also from the practical standpoint. If you have a spot where beavers like to build, then you can pick them off one by one, but they're going to keep coming back there.
So whenever they can put in a beaver deceiver or a mechanism that can help keep a balance in their activity without taking out a road, then that's the highway department's goal. They've been putting in different fencing and different equipment around culverts in town for many, many years, and they try to maintain them and minimize the damage to the road. And they are, currently they're learning to work with Concom and thinking through different strategies and making sure that permitting is done appropriately going forward. So it is a busy season for beavers, and hopefully we are lucky that the rains aren't as heavy as normal in April, because some of the work done over the winter by the beavers can become a real problem for our roadways. And our highway department will have to continue to monitor that all year round. Thank you.
And just one last thing, I recall seeing something about a beaver dam down at Lake Wyola by Fisk Pond that the Highway Department was going before. I don't know if they're going before the Board of Health and the Conservation Commission. Is that correct?
Yes, this is the large culvert that goes under Lakeview Road from Fisk Brook into Lake Wyola. And there's a fairly substantial beaver dam that has been built up over the fall and winter inside that culvert. And it is affecting the lake level to some extent. And Tim has spoken with the Board of Health about it. We have voted to issue such permit at the appropriate moment, but Concom also has to issue a permit for this. And they suggested that we wait to issue our permit because it's basically a 10-day permit. And so we won't actually issue it until Tim has Concom authorization and he's ready to go.
Melissa, Eric, any questions?
So has any dam removal happened already before this? We've got the select board's got at least one letter from one citizen claiming beavers were killed, and I mean, they said it was illegal. I just don't know if it was or not. Or what.
You're talking about the email from Lois Brown.
Right.
Tim has gotten an additional, he responded to her email. She had been, a third party had communicated with her about what was going on, and a lot of it was in she misunderstood a lot of what she was told. So there was not work being done on her property. No beaver from, number one, nothing happened on her property.
Right, I kind of assumed that.
No beavers have been trapped yet at this point.
And no dams have been destroyed either.
That is correct. There haven't been any dams taken down that I can recall. It used to be that the dam keeper kept that culvert at Fisk Brook, just kept it clear. A few sticks were put in there, he'd just take them out. But that hasn't been happening. And so this year we got an actual beaver dam.
Yeah, and the day last Friday, when there was a lot of email going back and forth about the beavers at Dudleyville Pond, an EPO came out and came to Tim. He investigated. He asked him everything he was doing, how he was doing it, and he knew the trapper that we are using. And he found everything was in order with how Tim was proceeding as far as the PO was concerned.
That's good
But
information.
But there was a breach there
Yeah,
at
prior
Dudley.
to that point, which was built back in the next day. And that was, I think, the reason that they felt that they needed to do that trapping had to happen, because there was no way that they could. Number one, the breach should only happen with full permitting from Concom, and that will be true to how they proceed here on out. And the other issue is they now need to secure a natural heritage endangered species permit as well, as part of the process to get the permit for doing any breaching of a dam for a beaver.
Is that everywhere, or that's just down at Lake Wyola?
Then you're right. The natural heritage, I believe, is only at Lake Wyola at this point.
All right, good. Has everybody heard enough about beavers? Any questions from the public or? All right, seeing none, we will move along. Thank you, Kat. So we have a Mass Save Memorandum of Understanding for the new library building project. And Becky, can you?
This was
Background.
proposed by Mary Ann, and I thought she was going to be here tonight. I had checked in with her. Can we get back to this when she arrives? She did not forward me the documentation.
She did or did not?
Did not.
Did not. Okay, I thought we had it, no?
Yeah, I was just searching my email. I thought I saw something.
Yeah, I think we had it from, because.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought she was.
All right, so why don't you look for it and we'll move on? How's that? We can come back to this if you want to just do that search. Okay, so Select Board's annual report, Eric, it was very detailed. I don't know, have you seen it yet, Geneva?
Yes, I briefly read through.
Melissa?
Yeah.
Oh, Melissa, okay. And Geneva, have you seen Eric's draft yet?
I have.
Okay. That was good. I think it covered all the highlights.
Can I just ask a question about, did anyone, is it accurate? I mean, I think I got everything.
You took it
I
from
thought I
minutes,
did.
right?
Yeah, I do them for minutes, but
Yeah.
I'm just, your eyes kind of glaze over when you write a report like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether or not, did we really
Well,
do that then? Or?
I have to
Yeah.
be honest, I read through it quickly just to, see what was there. I will give it the once over. I had kind of a busy day, so I will look at it one more time, and Geneva, I will get you if I have any edits, get them to you tomorrow morning, if that's okay. Melissa, you're good
The
with
only
that?
edit I had was a hyphen in my name and the space closing between the N and the apostrophe.
Okay.
Wait a minute now. Let me get that right, because I hate when people's names are wrong.
It's
What was
Melissa
the-
Makepeace hyphen O apostrophe capital N E-I-E-E-I-L.
Wait a minute. O apostrophe N-E-I-L,
Yes,
1 L.
Yeah.
Okay.
thank you. I found what Marianne sent us.
Yeah, I have it too, Melissa, but if you
Okay,
want to
perfect.
put it up, you're probably faster.
Well, let's see. I
I
will.
have it up on my screen if you want me just to,
Oh, I'm disabled. Go ahead. You share it.
Oh. sorry. At least you're still here.
Yeah, computer's working. I have confidence in this one for the moment.
Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is for the electrical and mechanical engineers. Odenzello will be doing the design work with National Grid, the sponsor. They'll give technical assistance and energy analysis, Mass Save incentive pre-approval is what the select board is giving. This identifies all the full incentives being given to us as the customer. We fill it out if the select board signs to approve and mail it in. Pretty straightforward.
So these are just financial and other technical incentives that Mass Saves provides for the new library.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to sign it, is there? I mean, I couldn't see any, but am I missing something? It seems a
No.
little too much like free money to believe it.
Yeah, but that's they do it.
Yeah.
So,
They're doing the same thing with the Green Communities Grant. They're filling in, their incentives portion is quite large
Okay.
on the Green Communities Grant. So this is great. It's very helpful to the project.
So this has to be executed by the select board, correct?
I think I don't even think there's an approval. I think it's best to have the approval on record in the minutes, but the
Okay.
document itself only had customer name and signature. Rita, you're welcome to sign it. That would be great, but
I
I,
assume we're the customer though, right? Town of
for
Shutesbury.
the customer, yeah.
Okay. So,
We'll
So
sign it.
I'll make a motion that we approve Rita to sign the Mass Save MOU for the new construction of the library.
Second,
okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Thank you, Sonia. Aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye.
We might want to get we might want to get Matt Oden to sign it tonight. It's one place for an architect's signature,
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
since we'll
Right.
actually have him in
Well,
the
it's going
building.
to him. Yeah, it's going to them. They're gonna handle it.
so
Okay.
if you bring it, Becky, he could sign it tonight and I could sign it at the library session.
At the school. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the Lox Pond Culvert schedule. So we had some good news on this. Becky, do you want to?
It's good news. We actually have a schedule for the Lox Pond culvert. We have commitment from our contractor and our engineer to move forward. Our electric pole, after 2.5 years or 2 years, was finally moved, and we're ready to proceed. We
Yay.
have had some, let me just switch the screen so I can put the schedule up. The schedule itself will be moved up a bit to be sure. We had, our engineer had requested an extension from Conservation Commission, but we found that the extension was getting quite complicated, and then we spoke with our engineers and contractors about the new schedule. What was complicating the schedule was last year, what we had attempted to do was to start, and the prior year was to start at the end of August and move and go through end of October into November. Our permit from Concom is only good, I believe, through October 12th. So without an extension, we probably would have run over what was permitted, which we did not want to do. As we started to look at an extension of the order of conditions, Miriam had made clear that there was going to be a number of meetings and more permitting required with the extension. As you can imagine, our engineers are quite a bit over their original budget, as the project has taken is 2 years longer and has not yet started. The quote I received from them was that it would be, like around $3,000 or $4,000, maybe $5,000, depending on how many meetings would be required to go through that extension process. So I think the solution that we need to embrace is starting earlier on the project. And so what is outlined here is detour signs will go up starting June 26th. And then the Monday after the 4th of July weekend, the Monday or Tuesday, I believe is on July 10th, we will have, they'll start to set up the construction site. And actually at this date, the road will be cordoned off to the public on either side. So what this means to meet this construction schedule, Locks Pond Road will not be, you will not be able to access it from the other side of the lake. People will have to use Old Wendell Road or else do the official detour, which will go through Leverett. So this is gonna be how it is for most of the summer. There is hope, we could finish ahead of the schedule. The red blocks indicate dates that we are permitted to work in the water. And with this schedule itself allows for some extra room and is the least risky in terms of completing the project on schedule. Does anyone have any questions?
Melissa, Eric?
The downside is really that this project is happening in the highest traffic time of the year, I would assume. Is that what we're assuming the
Well,
downside is?
Yeah, because there'll still be significant work that potentially will need to get done after Labor Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But for school buses,
It's
at least
much
part
better.
of it was much better.
Yeah, the school committee was
During
happy.
Yeah.
And it's a project where, you know, when you have to close a road, people are not going to be happy. But this bridge, I mean, the culvert has gone an extra 2 years, deteriorating, rusting out as we go. It's a critical infrastructure project to the town. And I think the feedback I've gotten from people around the lake is what they want is notification of dates is their primary objective. So I will begin after this meeting, reaching out to all the abutters and send this to the Lake Wyola Association and LWAC and everyone else that will be impacted by this.
Maybe a related question I have is, we had talked about instituting those various, excuse me, the differences in our approach to the ability for citizens to be on the lake, on the dam. And I think we're kind of thinking we could blow that off until next year because of all this. Maybe we could do that this year if we wanted to. I throw that out, that's all.
What's going to be closed off, Becky? Like, where does it, would the road be closed before you would have the dam access?
Oh,
You won't have
wow.
access to the dam.
You will have access to the dam.
No, because
You will not, did you say?
will not. I mean, they have to make sure that the folks that abut the dam, so basically the road where Howie usually goes in and out,
Mhm.
it will have restricted access to that road.
Okay.
And it'll go up a bit beyond that, you know, it'll go up beyond the guardrails. The first action they take in that first week will be to remove the guardrails. So everything has to be secured. They can't have, you know, foot traffic or anything going through the area where there's no guardrails. So people will have to discover other ways to get around or use kayaks.
So what Eric just said, it might be a good idea. It gets closed down, people won't have access to the dam, so when it opens up. Yeah,
They'll already be accustomed
right.
to not having access. So it'll be a perfect transition time if we can dovetail on to the end of the project, potentially.
And my sense is in order to do that, we'd have to have a new bylaw. Is that true or not? In other words, would we have to have a bylaw that said people
Yeah.
cannot access the dam, blah, blah, blah?
So it would be at
So
next
either-
year's town meeting.
Well, or this year's town meeting, this coming town meeting, right?
Yeah, well, we
If
don't,
you can get a bylaw done, Eric, that you're comfortable with, I think some of the rest of us might not be able to help.
Right. I think didn't I write a bylaw at one point, just sent it a draft of it? I think I did. I'd have to look at it. I'd have to look it up myself. I can't remember, but
Can
I'm as
we-
much as anything. Yeah,
Yeah, let's put this on the agenda for next meeting so we can
Okay.
make kind of a more formal
fine.
decision. And that way we could
That's a
look at
good-
what you had done, Eric, because I know you
okay,
had
that's a
done
good
that
plan.
whole-
That's
that
a
whole
good plan.
report. Okay, that would still
And-
give us enough time if we wanted to do it this year.
And
Right.
we could also have a fall town meeting, potentially.
Right.
So 2 options then. Okay.
And Becky, is there anything regarding lake lowering? There's this, when this culvert goes in, what happens at the dam
They have
itself?
not, in the engineering design, they will be pumping water, but they are not dependent on the lake lowering. They did not work that any of the drawdown into their design plans, because it was also a very complicated, permitting issue.
So they're operating under the existing order of conditions
Yes,
then? Okay.
yes.
All right. Questions? I see Mark Rivers here. I don't know, Mark, if you have anything you want to add from Lake Wyola Association.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
One question that I had is that some of the requirements or the desirable jobs they have done with the dam is to relocate the seepage monitor weir. Is there any chance that that could be done at the same time, because they'll have heavier equipment there? It's just, lifting it up and moving it.
That was brought up at, the meeting that was held 3 years ago, I think it was now, or 2.5 years ago. We will be having a pre-construction meeting to address, and we'll have that issue on, the agenda again to see if, to connect with the contractor specifically at the time, now, so that we can arrange to have them do that.
And the other question is, in the old culvert, Bill Elliott had put marks on the side of the culvert so that you could see what the flow rate was coming out. And in the early stages of our discussion, we thought that the contractor could do the same thing, or the engineering group could do the same thing. Did that ever come up again?
No. So the request is to have markings on the inside of the new culvert to help us determine the flow rate?
Correct.
So 1 and 2, okay. I will talk to the engineer about that, because they'll probably have to do the calculations, and he might remember, Matt might remember that they did have that in his notes. I just don't recall that discussion. But I'll check in with our engineer, Matt Stakowitz.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions, Melissa or Eric? And anybody from the audience? So Becky, will you be sending this chart out with the letter to the
Yes, I will.
abutters? And okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be good for people to kind of
Yeah,
have
I
that
think people
visual.
need need this particular information. I'm just waiting for my Matt he did the last formal letter to our construction company and to Concom. And then those should be complete, and I will get this information out to abutters and people around the lake.
Okay. And up on the website too. I think just having that front and center sooner rather than later, it's important. It's going to be a big deal for this summer.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is we had a request about moving the clothing/materials box. Oh, Susie, did you have a question about the previous discussion?
Yeah, I wondered if it needed a vote.
asked Becky that. I don't think we needed a vote, correct? About moving ahead, or do you want?
If you want to take one, the select board's always welcome to take a vote.
I don't see that there's any official action, but Melissa, Eric, do you want to vote on it?
I'm okay either way.
Yeah, what are you going to vote on?
Oh, we're still talking about the culvert.
Oh, okay. I came to talk about the bin.
I know you did. We were almost there. Okay.
I don't know that, I mean, the only thing we could do is vote to accept the schedule and that's
Right.
right. There's nothing.
Yeah,
Right.
vote to accept the,
There's no contract or anything like that at this
Right.
point. Right. Okay. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Okay. So, clothing box and material box, and Gary Bernhardt has joined us from the recycling committee. We've had a request from an abutter to lot 032 to move the box, that blue box that's currently there. And I know originally when that location was decided on, we had thought about a couple of other possible locations for the box. And I don't know if there are any criteria set forth from the recycling, from the company that provides the box, but maybe Gary, you can just give us a quick overview about, whether or not there are any considerations as we look at the alternatives to where the box could go. I just need you to unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, that's better. The company, the only criterion they really have is to make sure that the box is available to people, that they see it, that they know where it is, and it's easy to get to. I've talked to our contact at CMARC, and she said they'd be happy to move it, but they wouldn't want to put it behind Town Hall because it's not visible there. And where it is now, it's been getting quite a bit of use, apparently, and the town's made, a little bit of money on it, and a lot of people have been able to get rid of old clothing that then gets reused, and CMARC has a really good reputation. I did some research on them when I was first approached by their contact, and they have a really good reputation, and they do good work, and they do make contributions to Big Brothers Big Sisters. So it's good. It's a good organization. I thought that we might put it up by the current library. I mean, let me back up a little bit. We were thinking where would be a good place for it permanently. And we thought, well, by, the new library, because people would be going there on a regular basis, and they would know where it was and so forth. So we put it there thinking that when the library is actually built, we could move it if necessary. And CMARC has no problem moving it. They just want it to be used. They want it to be visible. And so we talked about up by the library, and Marianne said it could be near the library as long as it's not too close to the sandbox. And she said something like on the town common. But I don't know that it needs to be on the town common. I think it could be up against the back fence and away from the sandbox, and still visible and be used by people who are coming to the library. Taylor, the contact, asked about the school as a location for the bin, and a lot of towns who use these textile bins put them by the school. I haven't talked to the principal about that, but Becky, did you?
I've had a back and forth with Jackie on that. Yesterday, she was gonna go by to consider it. She wanted to see what the box looked like. Today, Steve Sullivan went down and looked at the area because we were thinking, well, maybe we could put it in front of the old Verizon house, but we were not sure if it would fit there. And then he went and checked by the recycling, the current recycling bin, there's a bunch of roof materials that still need to get removed from there. And so I told Jackie, Steve thought it could fit nicely there with everything else removed. So I told Jackie that, and the more she thought about it, she feels like she's been overrun by sheds and stuff. And she's, at this point, doesn't want it to be at the school.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
So the other alternative is at the highway department,
right.
which is just across the street from where
And-
it currently is.
And I understand that Tim isn't terribly happy about that.
Well, I think it's the select board needs to make the
Yeah.
Where would you
decision.
put it at the highway barn?
Highway department, you know, either one of the gates when you go in, just, you know,
Just
to
around
the
the
left
side.
one, just to the left, or just to the right behind the berm.
Right, right.
Well, that's
Behind
where
the
the old
berm.
recycling bins were, right?
That's right.
We used to have
Well, they
recycling
were
bins
actually
there.
close. They were where the old recycling bins were where the gas tanks are now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I first moved into town nearly 40 years ago, there was a newspaper collection bin in the highway department area, and that was it for recycling, as a matter of fact. So we've come a long way.
That's- I don't remember that.
Yep.
Becky, go ahead.
So the reason Tim gave was he was concerned for safety, and then folks know that people go in and out to use the sand. I think part of the issue is I think Tim just tries to keep, just like Jackie, wants to make sure it's not too much stuff ending up in their space. My concern is when I go in and out of there, the berm is not too bad at this season, but I still barely get in and out of there. I typically cannot really see traffic at least on one side as I go in and out. And the garden club has done a beautiful job with the mound, but in the summer months, the additional growth on the mound makes it even more difficult to get in and out. So that's my personal concern, is just getting in and out of there in lower vehicles. I have found difficult. But
I
not
would think if it was at the far side, it wouldn't be as much of an issue where the berm is ended. Coming out of town hall, the visibility is terrible.
That's really bad.
You have to be careful,
It's a
that's
dangerous job
that's-
working for the town.
it's a long and short of it. There's no perfect, people speed along Leverett Road. It's great now we have those flashing speed signs, because I think, I certainly slow down when I see them.
Well, coming out of the library is no piece of cake for the same reason.
That is
That's
correct.
right. That's
That is
right.
correct. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, when I talked to the abutter, she said that once the library is built, the location where it's going to be would be fine with her, because it's back behind her house and wouldn't be a problem. So if we thought of the highway department as a temporary place for the bin, and then we could move it again once the library is built, and that would probably be the best place for it anyway.
Okay, Melissa, or Eric?
Well, I would just think the highway department would probably be better than, I mean, the library, there's not a lot of room at the library. We have cars going in and out and adding traffic to that.
Not many parking places, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I think between those two, I guess I would say the highway department is better. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, and we want the front of town hall, but we don't want the bin in front. It's pretty large.
Yep, yeah.
You can put it next to the Dropbox.
Yeah, but also keep the view from people being able to see out the windows and
Yeah.
all. And
It's kind of unsightly. I'm sorry. It's
No,
not
it
like
is.
a beautiful box. I don't want it on the,
It's-
I would not like to see it on the town common. I would not like to see it in front of town hall. I think the highway department is suitable and
until we
if-
move it over.
Till we move it over. Yeah. And we'll just have
And
to
I think
work with the highway
wherever it
department.
goes, it really is, in a sense, it's maybe a 2-year or 3-year temporary look, but it is a temporary, I think we're viewing this as a temporary location.
Yes, and we can
So-
tell Tim that, you know, it is going to be a temporary. You know, when we first thought about it, that was our first thought, was the highway department. And then we looked at, you know, the area where the library is going to be and thought, well, we'll move it away from the abutter's house, put it on the other side of the road, and I mean, it might even help. Well, I won't even say that because I think it does need to be moved. But if that one street right next to her house was closed off, that might make a difference too. But I think if we move it temporarily to the highway department, you know, it won't. Then once the library is made, we can put it back there.
I'll just take a question or two. Gail, I see your hand up.
If the objection to the current placement is because of lights going into her house, could not a blind wooden scaffolding of some kind be built behind the current location and not have to move it at all?
It was not only the lights, it was also the fact that people were at times leaving stuff outside and
Blowing into her yard
blowing,
and-
things
yeah.
were being scattered. So, I'm not sure how you could really do a blind that would be
Okay.
effective. Might be very expensive. Yeah. So do I hear a motion then regarding the moving of the clothing box?
I'll make a motion. We move the clothing box temporarily to the highway department.
Second,
Okay, is there any further discussion?
Well, I'll just say oh, you go ahead and have the vote first.
Okay. Okay,
And-
thanks, Gary. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. Gary, go ahead.
Yes, I will then get in touch with our contact at CMARC and let her know what the decision is. And they're pretty responsive. And so I suspect that in the next few days, it'll be moved.
Well, let's make sure that we have
Okay.
Tim and an exact location.
Right.
Before we,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was going to
before we make
suggest that
arrangements.
somehow we, whoever we are, we make sure we notify Tim and get his input on I know if he doesn't want it there, at least what's the least offensive place to put it or whatever.
Eric, you can do that.
Yeah, I think it needs to come
I'm
from the
just kidding.
select board rather than from me.
We
Oh, I
will
didn't
take
see
care of it.
It's the recycling committee. You're responsible for all this stuff.
It will be taken care of and we will let you know once.
Okay, and then I'll contact CMARC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
That would be
great.
great. Okay,
I'll let you know, Gary.
Thank you.
I'll let you know in the morning after I talk to him.
Great.
Okay, the next item, and yes, and thanks, Gary, for coming. The next item is schedule of projects, checking in about annual town meeting and any other kind of open issues. And Becky, I'm going to turn this over to you.
I'll just get my diagram up. My work plan. This is not it. Okay. 1 second. I'm sorry, Rita, this is taking me a minute.
Okay, so we want to go ahead and do the appointment of the registrars then? While you're doing that?
Yes, that would be wonderful. Okay, so I got
Except I need the names. I know you told me, but I didn't write them down. This is just 2 reappointments of registrars, is that correct?
Yep, I believe it's,
It's Gail and Grace.
Shaker and Grace Spanish, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I hear a motion to reappoint Gail Fleischaker as a registrar of voters for the town of Shutesbury.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. And do I hear a motion to reappoint Grace Spanish as a registrar of voters for the town of Shutesbury?
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. How are we doing, Becky? Oh, Penny, did you have a comment or question? Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, historically, the chairs of the town committees, Democratic and Republican, have been asked annually if they have any suggestions. I wonder if we've discontinued that, or it's fine by me as chair of one of those committees, but I didn't know if it was required by any other power that be.
I don't know the answer to that question.
We're gonna have to go to Grace on that one. I apologize, but you're right, Penny, and I think that was a March, something that historically had been done in March. So I will check in with her. I believe she asked for reappointment of this. I don't know whose turn it is that would be open. Every year there's one opening, and I'm not sure which person that is this year. So I'll have to check in with our,
As long as we're not violating any major,
yeah,
or breach of faith anywhere. Thank
Thanks
you.
for pointing that out.
okay. All right, Penny, I'm sorry. Rita, you know the document exists because we reviewed it yesterday.
Right.
And if we could move on to the next agenda item, I know it's here, but it's eluding me.
Okay, well, you have to kind of do the next agenda item is for the PFAS update, and I can cover the Shutesbury eligibility for the Clean Water Trust. Maybe we'll start with that. So the select board had voted to apply for determination of eligibility for the Clean Water Trust Emergency Loan Program. And this has to do with funding that's made available through the Clean Water Trust, specifically for PFAS remediation. And so we had been, I believe it was our new rep, Aaron Saunders, had arranged a meeting, which I believe maybe Eric went to the first meeting, the Clean Water Trust folks. And then there was a follow-up meeting that Becky and I had with them. And we were told that we would be eligible for this 0% 20-year loan with a good chance of forgiveness for part of that loan. And the monies could be used to pay for the costs associated with the PFAS testing, the installation of the treatment, the point of entry treatment systems that are being installed in the affected properties. And I believe town meeting had approved just over $136,000 for all of this work. And we hired Ty and Bond as our licensed site professionals to work with us in dealing with the PFAS issue. So all of the costs associated with the engineering, with the POET systems, the filters, and any associated additional testing would be covered by this loan. And so we received back from the Clean Water Trust a letter stating that we are in fact eligible for it. And they sent us a link for, an application. And I opened up the application and kind of just was startled by the length of the application and the complexity of the application. This coming at a time when we have so many other things going on in town, and we have a MVP application that needs to be done by March 5th, I believe, municipal vulnerability program. So I spoke with Becky, and she spoke with our consulting engineers who were dealing with the PFAS at the fire station from Ty and Bond about whether or not somebody there who's very familiar with this application could assist the town in the preparation. A lot of the information has to come from them, but some information will need to come from our town accountant and town treasurer. It's a loan application, so there's a lot about, just town finances. But on the technical side of it, if Ty and Bond, if it doesn't cost a significant amount of money, it seems to me that it would be a good investment of some town money in order to be able to access this the 0% loan, again, that we probably get a significant forgiveness on. So that's the update. Town meeting would have to be an article in the town meeting warrant to authorize the town to borrow the money. So we as a select board already voted to submit the eligibility requirement. There's no vote, as far as I can tell, that we need to take this evening regarding this loan application. Just an acknowledgement that I think we're going to need some help put it together. And I think Becky has spoken with Ty and Bond to get an estimate as to what that's going to cost. And my feeling was, I would like to see the application done as soon as possible, because especially if we're going to be voting at this, an article at this town meeting, it would be good to have the application already have been submitted. So Becky, maybe do you have some update from Ty and Bond?
I apologize, they did not get back to me with a quote yet, but I do expect it before the end of the week. And I will, immediately send it out to the select board. Unfortunately, not having the estimate, we can't move ahead with committing funds.
How would we pay for it anyway?
I believe This has been one of the toughest years financially with all the overruns in fuel and heating and electricity. Our finance committee is at the end of their reserves, but we would be able to, we do have a standing line. As of May 1st, we would be able to transfer funds if both select board and finance agree into the FinCom line, and then we could take money out of, we could get the money through FinCom. Otherwise, it would be through ARPA funds before May 1st. So
So we could use ARPA funds. We have, what, about $50,000 left in ARPA funds? I imagine this is not going to be a huge amount of money, right?
I'm
for-
hoping it's under
dollars.
10,000, you know, but I don't know for sure. I'm hoping
Yeah.
closer to 5, but it should be pretty straightforward. If the person has expertise in it, you know, it shouldn't be too many rounds. We're not going to have him in many meetings. If we have a meeting, it would just likely be with the select board to explain things.
Okay, well, let's plan on having this on the agenda for our next meeting then, with the expectation that we'll have a quote. And I guess prior to that, I would ask that we have, if it's Gail or, you know, the town treasurer that needs to look at that, at the documents, to see kind of what their piece of it would be.
Yep. I should be seeing Ryan tomorrow and I can review it with him.
Okay, that would be great. That way we'd have kind of a complete picture, and if we were going to use ARPA funds, then we could vote those at the meeting, or if we felt we had to go wait for the FinCom transfer, it just gets us into May then, and
It won't
we
happen.
can't get
before
started. Right.
then. Yeah, the only other thing would be to vote seed money, like $5,000 towards it today. So I could start, but you still have to approve a quote from them and.
Yeah, let's just wait. As I said, I think a good piece of this is going to be stuff that's going to have to be done by town staff.
Yeah, and the treasurer has a significant role.
We could just go ahead and get started with that.
Okay, will do.
Is that, Melissa and Eric, does that make sense?
I think so.
All right. Becky, did you find the list?
I finally found the document hiding. Here we go. All right, so as you guys are aware, can everybody see okay?
Yep.
So this has much of this document I lifted from Eric's list of concerns. And then I added in the annual town meeting. And I'm pretty sure Eric had the school roof. He had the full bidding amount that we're hoping to get that out by tomorrow and into the central register. So this is happening imminently. We start at the top. Tomorrow night we have the presentation of the PIP draft, and then we'll have a 30-day waiting period after that, where we'll receive further comments, and then the document will become final after any of those comments were deemed to be needed to be incorporated. The next issue I have is the highway department and Concom. We need to move ahead on the blanket order of conditions. Currently, there was an MOU in place. I think today we had additional information on the MOU. Miriam sent out an email that included minutes from 2014 that show that the select board did approve the MOU.
They approved the language,
The
which is
language
different.
only.
They did not sign the MOU, right?
And they did not sign it, so it's still not legal. From, as Donna had determined earlier, which means at this point, there's nothing in place. Tim, traditionally, the MOU set up a relationship where every spring Tim presented a list of his projects, which he's been doing for 25 years. He said he would have a meeting with Concom. They would review the list, determine which needed to be an RDA or an NOI. And then Tim would work with town hall staff. At that point, it was Linda Scott to prepare the official documents. His role was always to do the narrative and the drawings. And then Linda, who had been the Concom clerk for a long time, helped complete the document with all the required information. So
Okay,
this
there's
is
no reason that couldn't still happen. You don't need to have the MOU.
in place. And that's what Tim is preparing for that. I'm just saying there's no document saying he has to do that, but he is moving ahead with his document that he'll give to the Conservation Commission. Okay, and then we have our MVP grant. The topic of this MVP grant, the winning topic, was a little different than originally presented to MVP. Originally, we presented two different concepts. One was to do stormwater analysis and a couple of stormwater projects at a specific location, being off Locks Pond Road, right near down by Lake Wyola, near where Locks Pond intersects other lake roads, dirt roads. And then the second concept was to do a feasibility study about solar for municipal buildings. The MVP rep had some interest in the Lake Wyola stormwater concept, but on the solar side, he really discouraged any request for feasibility studies. He said they are no longer doing feasibility studies because they all go back up on the shelf, and they want to see action grants being used for things that happen, that definitely will happen. I told him about how we are in the beginning process, design process of a new library, and we were hoping to put solar on the library roof. And so the application will be for the solar for the library roof to be paid for through the MVP application. They do not pay for design work, as typically people that you buy your solar, your solar contractor does the design. In this case, it'll be a little different, but the application will be written so that it'll be in parallel with the development of the solar design by our library designers. And then the action grant will pay for the panels themselves or any part of the electricity coming from the street to the building that might be required for the solar system and the panels as designed. So that is in process. We're moving along on that. Culvert permitting, we touched on already tonight, that we were very concerned about how much permitting might be required because of the natural heritage extending out the process. And given the failure for the last 2 years to proceed ahead, we are trying to eliminate risk. And then these, Eric, you wrote more significantly about the Lake Wyola Dam Study Committee. This is an issue that Mark Rivers has been very, very helpful with. And I'm going to be working with him. He and Terry Smith are moving ahead. I'm working on an RFP to help us with the drawdown issues as well as the dam consultant issues.
Okay, I don't see any dates with the NOI for the dam, for the lake lowering.
I'm still trying to figure those out. The ultimate deadline is in October. I believe it's October 12th is when it expires. I didn't put that in because I'm not sure at this point when we will complete the RFP. I'm hoping, before April is over, but I don't have the dates figured out on those yet.
I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to have sort of aspirational dates, kind of targets that we're trying to work towards instead of leaving it blank altogether. Because we're working backwards here. We have to have this done. So I think
we already have our inspections up to date for now. The next step is, I thought folks had wanted a new dam consultant in place to do the final inspection for FY23, but and the more I've learned in the last few days, I think we can count on Morris Root to do the final inspection. And that gives us more breathing room in the RFP for a dam consultant who will take over those responsibilities.
So are we talking about?
You'll do one more?
Yeah.
We'll do one more. Okay, sorry.
He would do one more. So we are up to date now, and he said he would do one more in June.
Okay.
And he's put it in his schedule, so I think we can count on him following through.
So we don't need 2 RFPs, and we just need one firm that would do all of the 91 permit, the national heritage, the notice of intent. Is that what's going into the scope?
That will all go in the scope, yeah.
Okay. So we would want to get, it's going to take somebody a while to get that stuff done. We really need to get moving on that, right?
Yep. No, we got to be in full swing in June and trying to wrap up in July.
But probably natural heritage is not gonna, it's not gonna turn around that quickly. Right?
30 days, they're saying. But
then the NOI with the Conservation Commission is gonna take more than a meeting or two.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to really push on this. We can't waste any more time. So I think the word needs to go to them. We need that scope of services. We need to get an RFP out ASAP.
Yeah, I would think that's true.
that's Friday. This is the deadline. Yep, there's a lot to do.
Yeah. If you could just indicate to is it Terry and Mark you said that are writing the scope? If they can't do it, we're going to have to do it. We need to get this RFP out for a consultant.
Yep.
And does the select board need to approve that RFP, or can that be issued without a vote?
It can be issued without a vote. You typically don't approve RFPs. You approve the contracts that come back as a result, typically.
Do we know where the money's going to come from for this?
This again, I hope to use the finance reserve. And we also, I was discussing with Terry today, how much money we're gonna need and how much we need to also request in next year's budget. Because it's gonna be a two-step, there's gonna be things that have to be done next year as well. Because it's, this whole project is split by July being in the middle. Our fiscal year is cutting this project into 2 years. And we're gonna need funding, significant funding.
Okay, so do you think it's, we can get an RFP out in the next 10 days?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, I think that's it, right? There's nothing else on this list?
Nope, we got to the bottom of the list.
Okay, thank goodness.
And early, good job, Rita.
The only thing is about the annual town meeting. I mean, I've just been thinking about the sound thing for a while. I don't know whether this is the time to do it, but we should be talking about at some point about sort of the
Logistics.
physical infrastructure for the town meeting.
Can we do it at the next meeting? I think that's
Yeah, that's fine.
okay.
And I did see Paul here earlier. I don't know if he's still here.
Yep.
Hi,
Yes, yes.
Paul. Are you available on the 25th to talk about we'll just have the first draft of the warrant, but we'll have all the other issues about, doing it outdoors and things like that, and Eric's music and sound issues.
Yeah, I saw that on your list and I put it in my date book immediately. So yes, I should be available.
Wonderful.
Great.
Okay, so any other town administrator updates, Becky?
We've had some problems, a new problem with heating. The the police department valve and the conference room valves broke. So the heat was just pouring out in those rooms. But because we had a mini split in the police department, they didn't notice it was happening right away. So the mini
That's why that
split-
room was so hot the other day.
Yep. So it's been repaired. They might need to come back with one more part, but we had the repair people here today. But that was a new thing to watch out for. That if you have a mini split, you got to make sure you have it in the right mode. You don't always want it in automatic where we had it. Other than that, we are looking at potentially a new part-time or full-time police officer that I would like to request participation from a select board member for an interview next Tuesday at 10. Are any of the select board members available for another police department interview?
No, I'm out.
I don't think I'm going to be here in town.
Okay. Hi, Eric.
I can do it.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll be having that interview and include a couple members of the public, and great. Well, thank you for that. And for the most part, I think that schedule showed a number of my activities recently, so I think we need to keep working.
Did
We
we go
didn't
over
have-
the
We didn't
Go
have
ahead, Beth.
PFAS, right? Yeah. And PFAS wasn't on that list, right?
PFAS is on the list.
It was, okay.
Towards the top,
all right.
I think.
Okay, so is there any PFAS update?
My
Any-
PFAS update is that we have at least 10 or 11 homes with filters ready for the final plumbing. So we hope by the end of the month to have at least almost all of the filters completed. I think it'll be, we still have to, that'll be about 25 filters. We will still need to do the dual filters in the original 5 properties. But it looks like we might be able to complete it by the end of the month, by the end of April, which is, the LSP is happy with that we're moving right along.
I
And
have
is
a
there,
technical question. Where does the carbon go when they change the filter? What happens to the polluted part of it that they're changing? Where does it go? I'm just curious.
Well, first it's benign enough you can store it in a barrel for collection, but to be used again, it's actually eventually is transported to Utah and cooked in ovens at 1800 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
That's how they clean it. But
And that's
unfortunately,
all part of our cost of deal. That's part of our cost with using those filters, right? I assume, right?
yeah, well, so far we've been buying new filters. We have not gotten rid of filters yet. So we are still looking for the cheapest vendor or the most responsible, affordable vendor to help us get rid of accumulations, but we don't have any yet. The
Okay.
one filter that was replaced was taken away by our installer. But we need to set up a disposal area either at fire or highway, but that hasn't been done yet.
okay, I think that's it. Unless Melissa or Eric, anything else?
No, I think we got it.
All right.
Good job.
Okay, so we meet again in 2 weeks, and I think we already have a number of agenda items we talked about tonight. So do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker eye.
Carol, aye. Becky, if you want to bring that MO, I assume you're going up to the school? You wanna Bring that MOU and I can sign it and maybe have Odenzello folks sign it too.
Okay, that'd be
Okay,
great.
great. Thanks, everybody. Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.